Hey guys, what is up? So today I'm going to be talking about Release Radar and how you can get your music featured on this Spotify algorithmic playlist. First of all, let me give you a quick overview of what this podcast is about. So the aim really is to help musicians learn everything they need to know about music marketing and how to grow on Spotify the right way. So throughout this podcast, we mainly will focus on Spotify, all the different types of playlists that you have, how you should be releasing your music, what you need to do to train the algorithms and really start to quickly grow your following on Spotify. But, we will look at other things like Facebook ads, Snapchat, TikTok, anything that's going to help you get your music to the right people, we will cover it. So this is a fairly new podcast. So this first episode, I'm going to keep it nice and straightforward about Release Radar, but hopefully it will just give you a good kind of understanding of what this playlist is and how you can really maximize it, because it is a really, really powerful playlist. And it's fantastic because it's all done through the algorithms. So you don't have to be messaging playlist curators. You don't have to submit your songs to the editorial team. You don't have to do anything like that. All you have to do is basically just trigger the algorithms in such a way that you're going to be put out to a very, very large amount of people who don't even follow you, haven't even heard your music before. So let's just go over the basics about Release Radar, just for anyone who maybe might be new to Spotify and doesn't really know too much about the different types of playlists. So as I mentioned, Release Radar is all done on algorithms. What do we mean by that? Well, automatically generated based on kind of what people like, it's triggered by certain stats and performance of your track. Now, Release Radar specifically features music that has recently been released. So every time that you release a track, that will get featured on Release Radar. And that's updated every Friday. So every Friday, when you go on as a user, you will have different tracks each week of newly released music. So when you release that new track, the first time that it hits Release Radar on Friday, initially, it will go out to just the people who follow you on Spotify. So if you're just starting out, you're probably not going to have many followers. You might have, say, 100 followers. Now, that isn't too much in the grand scheme of things, and when you are just starting out, you're not going to get many streams on Release Radar for those followers. Because if you think out of 100 followers, how many of those are going to use Release Radar? How many of those are then going to click on your song? You'd probably be lucky if you had like maybe 10 or 20 people out of 100 to listen to that track, which really is nothing. 20 streams isn't great at all. So you might be sitting there thinking, well, I've only got 100 followers, what do I do? Well, of course, as time goes by and you start to get maybe 2,000, 3,000 or even 5,000, you will notice that on Release Radar you'll get like 80 to 100 streams if you've got like a few thousand followers just on that first day, which is okay. But what you really want to do is you want to trigger the algorithms so that you start getting onto other people's Release Radar who have never heard of you, who have never followed you or listened to any of your music. That's the key. And when you do that, you can really start to get a large number of streams coming in from Release Radar. So the big question is, how do you do that? How do you get onto other people's Release Radar? Well, from what I can see in the tests that I've done, it really comes down to how well your song performs in the first week, probably like 2 weeks. That seems to be the key. So just so you know, Release Radar, you can only be on Release Radar with one song for up to 4 weeks after it's released. So you do have quite a short window. So that first week and the second week, they're really, really crucial to your success here for Release Radar. And it doesn't, in terms of the stats, it doesn't come down to streams alone, which is very typical with Spotify, because Spotify, they don't just look at the number of streams or listeners that you have, they're looking at all of the data. So we're talking about save rates, the number of people who are liking or saving your song, the number of playlists that you're being added to, sort of streams that have come from the playlist, how long people are listening to your track, what the skip rate is, because that's a key one. If people are listening to 10 seconds and skipping, then obviously Spotify are going to assume that your song isn't very good. But if you have like a high retention rate and a high save rate, they seem to be the main things. Now, in terms of what a good save rate is, I've regularly been hitting about 40%, I would say. Sometimes on that first week, I can get up to nearly 50% save rate, which I think is really, really high. A lot of people will recommend that you hit around like a minimum of 10-20%. But I found that you have to be up at least 30%. And every time I've been up 30-40% on like every track that I've released, I've always gotten to Release Radar to other people who don't follow me. So let me give you an idea on the numbers so you can see just how powerful and effective this playlist can be to getting your music out to new people. When I was testing this out initially, I was hitting in the first 2 weeks around kind of I'd say nearly 2,000 streams. Now, that's not a huge number in 2 weeks. It's what, about 150 streams a day? But I was just doing it on a very small budget. I was doing it on about $10 a day for this song. And yeah, I was saying I was hitting about 150 streams. I got featured on a few playlists, which helped, just some user-created ones. But when I found in the first 2 weeks, I was having people adding their songs to their playlist and streaming them multiple times, and I was making sure that the targeting was on point, right? Because if your targeting isn't accurate and you're not reaching out to the people who are ultimately going to love your track, then you're kind of doomed to fail. Because I could have got, say, 10,000 streams, but if, say I release indie rock music and then I target hip-hop users, well, I might get 10,000 streams, but my save rate, my retention, all these different stats, the skip rate's going to be high, the save rate's going to be low, and ultimately Spotify, the algorithms are going to say, well, this isn't a good track. And this is why just getting onto random playlists isn't really that effective, because you have no idea. You could be on a random playlist and those users just could not be the right people for you. They could not be in your target, and so ultimately that's actually going to hurt your track when it comes to these kind of algorithmic playlists. So like I said, the number of streams, it plays a part, but it isn't really the crucial thing. So when I was having really, really high save rates of like 30-40%, and I was getting about 1,700 to 2,000 streams in the first 2 weeks, on that second week, I would then get onto Release Radar again, and I would probably get about 300 or 400 streams. Now, these were all people who had never heard my music, and that was just on that one day, on the Friday. The next day, Saturday, I would again get about 300 streams. Monday, it would go down a little bit to about 200, and then each day from that, it would be about 100 streams per day. So you're looking about nearly at like 1,000 streams in 1 week on that third week, which is a lot, from one playlist. And that was just me testing it out, keeping the budget very low. So imagine if I had, instead of 2,000 streams in 2 weeks, I had 10,000 streams and I had a really high save rate again. I would be prepared to bet that I could probably get probably about 4,000 streams in a day if you had really, really good stats. So this comes down to how much of a budget you have, and sort of how you go about promoting it. Because really, ultimately, you need to just plan your release, and you need to plan the ads that you might be running, or the marketing campaign that you're running, because you need to hit those numbers early on. In the first couple of weeks, you need to be hitting really, really good numbers. And if you can get a great result, you can get really high stream numbers in those first 2 weeks with the good statistics. Really, Release Radar is going to pay off. You're going to get thousands and thousands of streams. Because look, if I'm hitting that on a low budget, as I say, a low budget and a low number of streams, really, in the first couple of weeks, I mean, 2,000 streams is nothing to sniff at. It's a fairly good result, and I was pleased to be able to do that on $10 a day. because ultimately I'm not worried about empty stats. I don't want like 200,000 streams in a month from people who don't want to listen to my music. You need to kind of learn about the building up proper relationships and having fans that actually want to listen to your music, because ultimately that is what's going to pay off for you in the long run, rather than just having a load of kind of empty numbers. So for me, I'd rather work my budget and my ads in such a way that I know I'm getting through to the right people who are actually going to come back and listen to that song again, and then they're going to come back and they're going to follow you. And then the third time they come back, you've released another track, and they're going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to listen to that. That ultimately is going to be so much better for your music and your Spotify profile as a whole. And this is something that we're discussing in more detail later on in other episodes in the podcast. Now, as always, this is just what I've seen. It might be different for you, but I've tested this many times on different types of tracks, different artist profiles, and that seems to be a fairly good rule of thumb in terms of the numbers that you need to hit. Anything kind of lower than sort of 1,500 streams in 2 weeks, personally, I just don't think you're going to trigger the algorithm in those first 2 weeks. You need to get over that 1,000 stream mark as quickly as you can. But you need to remember, you need to have those really, really good stats to back it up. So it's no good having 2,000 streams with a 5% save rate. That's just not going to cut it for you. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of an idea about how you can not only reach out to your own fans on Release Radar, but how you can then trigger the algorithm so that you reach people who don't know your music. So just to quickly recap them, we learn what Release Radar is. It's an algorithmic playlist that updates every week on Friday, only new music, and the longest time you can stay on there is 1 month with a new track. As I say, the key points are you need to hit those streams, you need to hit that really good save rate, you need to basically just be targeting the right people and ultimately have a good track, because if you have a good track, that will always be your trump card. If people love your song and it's good, they will come back, they will save it, they will add it to their playlist, and ultimately you will trigger that Release Radar algorithm. And the other thing I'll say as well is this is a theme with Spotify. It's a very, very long game. You might find your first track doesn't hit hit Release Radar. You might find that. You might find you get on for a few of your followers, but you can't trigger it further. Well, you just need to keep going. You need to test. It might be that track just isn't the right track for your target, for your listener base. You might need to tweak some of your ads. You might need to just release 2 or 3 tracks to build up that momentum first, because it is all about training the Spotify algorithms. That's ultimately what it comes down to. So it might take a couple of tries for you to get the same kind of results. But as I say, what it comes down to at the end of the day is make sure you have your targeting on point. And if you can afford it, get that budget up. Put as much money into Facebook ads or whatever you use. Snapchat ads is not a bad one, and something that I will cover in the future as well. But Facebook ads is the main one. Get that budget up and really, really load that budget in the first 2 weeks and drive as much traffic as you can during that period, and eventually you will see success on Release Radar. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Please do come back next time, because I'm going to be talking about Discover Weekly and how you can position yourself so that you start getting featured on this fantastic playlist. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.